Welcome back to the Atlas Masterclass. This week we're in Korea and we're going to be making a beef BIBIMBAP. So what this dish is we've got a rice dish that's going to have rice on the bottom, and then we've got lots of different fun textures on top. So we're going to have some radish, carrot, cucumber, some cooked mushrooms, some cooked sliced beef, some spinach, and a fried egg. And then the idea of this dish and what it means in a loose translation is mixed rice. So you're going to mix it all together at the end, but we're going to present it really beautifully. So to get cooking with this dish, the first thing we need to do is cutting up all the vegetables into some nice matchstick sized pieces. So trying to take our time to get them really nice and perfect. If you have one of those really nice sort of Asian graters where they will cut it into a julienne cut for you, I'd recommend using that. But if you don't, just using a knife, making it all flat like so, and just cutting as you go. Just trying to get it nice and even. It is essentially a cross between like a rice dish and a salad, so you do want to sort of nice small pieces. So the carrot just like so. Then the cucumber, we're going to take the ends off, cut it down the middle, through the centre, and then we'll just take the seeds out of this one. So to take the seeds out, I lie it down, running my knife across the middle, and then we've got these nice bigger pieces. So I might just cut each one of these into about 3 or 4 through the centre, and then I'll cut them in half. So the radish you can either, if you feel unsafe cutting them into circles, I recommend just lie them down like so. And just running your knife through those. So radish will give a real peppery sort of bite to this dish. And you know, it's a really nice mix of ingredients. The sauce that we'll make in a minute with the Gochujang, which is just, you know, this fermented pepper paste from Korea that's really fundamental to all those beautiful big flavours of Korean cuisine. So just slicing those like so, and the last one. And now, last but not least, we've got our mushroom. So the mushroom, we'll just slice those up as well. And these are going to be cooked very quickly, and they'll be full of flavour. So the combination of mushroom and beef, when we cook the beef, we'll be slicing it super thin, and then we'll be cooking it really, really quickly. So now our prep is almost done. And with the beef, taking our time, sort of pressing it together, make it nice and easy to slice, and slicing really, 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 really nice and thin. So the reason we want to cut it so thin is because we want to cook it super quickly. So we'll get the pan just absolutely raging hot, add it in, and cook it really, really quick. So just taking your time. I sort of like to roll it up so it's a bit shorter, makes it easier to cut. And just run your knife through it. Naturally, a nice sharp knife does help with this. And just, you don't have to trim the beef up at all either, just because it will be so thin that you won't get any sort of, you know, different textures from any sinew or fats. If anything, it actually adds to the texture. All right, now we're ready to start cooking. So while we're going to get this all cleaned down, but before I do that, I just want to add my rice in. So I've got my boiling water on. I add my rice in to cook. So I'm going to use that, cook that for about 8 or so minutes. If you've got a rice cooker, I'd recommend maybe use that. If not, just straight in the pot like so. So now we've got our rice on cooking, and it's now time to marinate our beef. So I've got the sliced beef here in a bowl, and I just mix in half our soy that we've provided. And then I also add in half the sesame oil as well. And then if you want, just use a pinch of pepper from your kitchen. It's not 100% essential, so if you don't want to add that in, don't worry, but it will add a little bit of flavour. And now give that a good mix, and then we're going to set that aside for about 10 to 15 minutes just to marinate. So feel free to do this, put it in the fridge, come back to it later if you want, but you do want to give it a little bit of time to get that beautiful flavour. So now we're going to make the gochujang sauce. So what we do is we get our Korean fermented chili paste. So this paste, it definitely does have a little bit of heat, but I don't find that it's too spicy. It's just got this really unique flavour that just brings so much to Korean food. So we mix all of that with the rest of our sesame oil, so about half for this and half for the beef, and then the rest of our soy. So once again, half for the sauce and half for the beef. And then all we have to do is give it a really nice mix. And then from your pantry as well, we're going to add a little pinch of sugar. So that sweetness is, really sort of fundamental in Asian cuisine. So, it just balances it out really well. So I'd give that a nice mix, have a little taste. Really nice, but I think even a little bit more sweet for me. And then I'll just give that a mix again, and that will go on top, and it really brings the whole dish together. So now let's get cooking. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour a little bit of oil in a pan, so using grapeseed oil or canola, whatever you'd like to use. And then I'm just going to let that heat up. So just sort of over sort of high heat actually, and I'll turn it down once it all starts to come to heat. And we're just going to add the mushrooms in first. So these will need to cook for about 3 to 4 minutes. So I'm going to add those in, let them start to cook, and then we'll just check back in once they're done. Then we're going to do the spinach, followed by the beef, followed by the egg. Plate this beautiful dish up, and then we'll be ready to go to Korea. So our mushrooms are now ready. So I'm just going to put them straight onto this tray here. And just using the same pan, no need to clean it. What I'm going to do is add the spinach in. So with the spinach, just letting that cook, so there should be a little bit of water left in the pan. I just put a lid on just to help it wilt a bit faster. That only needs probably about 30 seconds or so until we take that off too. Then we'll start cooking the beef. And now also our rice is ready. So now our spinach is wilted, I just took the lid off. And then you just need to cook it just simply that much. Let the heat of the pan do its thing. And I'm just going to put that straight onto this tray. So just having everything together, because you want to actually, with this dish, you want to be able to build it really nicely. So getting that pan on, heating it back up, splash of oil in there as well, and getting it really nice and hot first. So this is important, this part. It's about getting the heat into the pan prior to adding in the beef. So you can see it's starting to almost smoke a little bit. And you want to cook it super quickly. And as you can see, I'm not putting too much in the pan at once, just semi-moving it around. The smell in the kitchen will be unbelievable. This is exactly what I experienced when I was in Korea. These sort of big flavours, the smokiness, that the soy will just almost char in the pan. And of course the smell of sesame oil. And that's it. So nice bit of sear on there. And then once they're ready, we'll take that straight off. Warm the pan back up, and we'll do that one more time. And being super careful, of course, with this step. If you are cooking for a large amount of people as well, you might want to halfway through cooking the beef, stop, wash the pan, and then start doing it again. You just might find if it does burn a little bit, it's just so you sort of don't get that burnt flavour. You want to have that really nice smoky charred flavour. So that's a little tip for you if you find that you're getting a bit too much colour on the meat. There we are, so it's almost there. Cooked up really nicely. Needs probably another 30 seconds. And then we'll be ready to serve. Have a taste. Just beautiful, like the soy and the sesame really comes through when you eat this dish. And I think that's really important to get that saltiness. If you feel you need to add a pinch of salt, you definitely can. Look at that. That right there is just an awesome, awesome item to cook. So now we're going to fry off our egg. So the last step of this dish. So same pan, I just give it a nice clean, fair bit of oil for this one, and just over a sort of medium heat, letting that oil come up to the heat, just feeling from above. You just want to, if you can feel that it's getting nice and warm, you know it'll be ready to put the egg in. So I'll crack the egg. There we are. Just turning that up a little bit. And just frying those off. And then while we're frying those, you might start plating up the dish. So to present this dish, what I'm going to do is getting our rice at the bottom, letting it break up. And then the trick with this dish is to really present it nicely. So you know, we took all the time to cut everything up properly and get it all done really nicely. So we want to put it all on like so. So I put the spinach and the mushrooms, then I'm going to put some of the radish, the cucumber, carrot, and then the beef. So those eggs are really cooking out nicely. So the beef just rolling, as you can see, it's sitting in this sort of its own juices up there. It's all the flavour for this dish. So, you know, it's nice and important to get that all on. And as you can see, I really want to show off each individual element. So, you know, it just looks absolutely beautiful. It's like, you know, some of the BIBIMBAPs I was eating when I was in Korea. And I love to show that all off. And then now, just checking these coming away from the pan. They probably need about another minute or so, and then we'll be ready to enjoy. And now our eggs are ready. So I'm just gonna take that off. So this dish, there is quite a lot of cooking, but I think that this is something that once you learn how to make this dish, it's something you will definitely come back to. As you know, it's such an awesome dish to learn how to make. So many textures and flavour. So I'm just going to add our last step, which is the sesame, and I'm going to put that mainly over the beef and the spinach. And with that there, you can actually toast the sesame as well in a dry pan if you'd like to. It will add a sort of an extra sort of dimension of flavour, but in this case, just because there's a lot of cooking, I have not done that. And then last but not least, we get our gochujang sauce. And really, I like it to be a bit wild, this sauce. Putting it on top like so, getting that all through the dish. And that there is our beef BIBIMBAP. So we've got our beautiful cooked mushrooms, the spinach, the sesame, carrot, our cucumber, radish, fried egg, the sauce on top, and of course that sort of sushi rice on the bottom. And you know, that right there is quintessentially a Korean dish. It's just absolutely beautiful, and I just think what you're gonna do now is just mix it all together and enjoy.